recognize now the gentleman from Alabama.
Thank you, Chairman. And I appreciate the opportunity for us to discuss the legislation that we passed last year. One of the last acts that this Congress passed last year was the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act. It passed 317 to 93. And enforcement of the act capped a multi-year effort to protect American families from the well-documented ill effects of illegal online gambling. The new law attacks the problem of internet gambling, illegal internet gambling, through the payment system by prohibiting financial intermediaries from processing transactions involving unlawful gambling under applicable state and federal laws, including the Federal Wire Act and the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act. It does not prohibit anything which is not already illegal. It simply enforces the law that has existed in this country for years. As the record developed by this committee and the Judiciary Committee over the past several years has shown, gambling, too often illegal internet gambling, results in addiction, bankruptcy, the destruction of families, and criminal activity. Internet gambling magnifies the destructiveness of gambling by bringing the casino into the home. According to an extensive study conducted by the University of Connecticut Health Center, 74% of those who have used the internet to gamble have serious chronic problems with addiction, and many of those have resorted to criminal activities to pay for their habit. One of the witnesses who is with us this morning, Pastor Greg Hogan, will share with this committee the story of how internet gambling addiction placed his high achiever son on a path that ultimately led to prison. The NBA, the NCAA, Major League Baseball, all of those testified before our committee as to the corrupting influence of illegal internet gambling on athletes. Some claim that illegal internet gambling is a victimless crime. The chairman's done that this morning. In fact, the very real victims of illegal internet gambling, the ones I'm concerned about, are the ones he spoke of, the underage gamblers, who by the tens of thousands are becoming compulsive, addictive gamblers. Now, they can't go in a casino. They can't go and bet legally, so they do it on the internet, which is prohibited and illegal, but they do it anyway. They do it in their bedrooms. They do it in their dorm rooms. It is a mushrooming epidemic, leading in its wake suicides, crime, financial, and family tragedies. The Judiciary Committee, our committee, had several instances of college students who committed suicide as a result of internet gambling and the debts they drove up. When it comes to illegal internet gambling, and I stress, we're talking about illegal internet gambling. So those who are testifying in favor of this bill are actually talking about taking away prohibitions on what is already illegal. If the activity was legal, then it would have been in our court to try to make it illegal. But this is not a debate over whether it's illegal or not. Every state in this union has a prohibition against this type of gambling. When it comes to this type of gambling, illegal internet gambling, there are three reasons in particular why it is dangerous. Number one, the Harvard Medical School, the University of South Florida, and the American Psychiatric Association all conducted studies showing that the earlier one begins gambling, the more likely it is he or she will become an addicted problem gambler. In fact, the Harvard study, and you're a graduate of Harvard, Mr. Chairman, showed that teenagers are 3 or 4 times more likely to become addicted than the older population. Second, preteens, teens, and college students have unlimited access to the internet, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because of the repeated exposure they have to illegal internet sites, gambling sites, they fall victim by the thousands. These are illegal sites operated, most of them offshore, or all of them offshore, I would assume. So the people that are operating these sites are violating the laws of our country. I don't know any other way to say that other than they're criminals. If they violate the criminal laws of our country, does that make you a criminal? I think it does. In fact, a University of Connecticut study showed that as many as 3 in 4 preteens and teens who are exposed to internet gambling become addicted. Third, compulsive problem gambling, particularly among young people, has been shown to result in the following. We built an extensive record on this. Increased withdrawal from normal activities, turning to criminal activities to recoup financial losses. The NCAA testified before the Judiciary Committee about the starting quarterback at Florida State University, who on an illegal internet site ran up over $10,000 worth of debts, turned to burglary to try to solve this problem, was betting on games involving his own institution, and ended up in prison. He's only one of about 14 NCAA athletes that has been convicted in the past few years of illegal internet gambling. A lot of people don't care about this. They make money on these games. They make money on these athletes. And they aren't really concerned with whether they end up in jail or not. But this same study, the Connecticut study, showed that these teens, many turn to criminal activities to recoup their financial losses. They take drugs to deal with the depression. And they have, as the Harvard study showed, the South Florida study, the American Psychiatric Study, and 48 other studies by universities and health groups showed their irresponsible behavior leads also to family and other relational problems. A study by McGill University, and this is in the past 2 years, we didn't have the benefit of this study, found that nearly 1/3 of teen compulsive gamblers have attempted suicide. The University of Pennsylvania has recently found that the number of young people addicted to gambling, largely due to what they found was an increased exposure to illegal internet gambling, is growing by an alarming 20% between 2004 and late 2005. They call this an epidemic which the country will deal with socially and economically for decades to come. Thus, Congress's failure to act for many years, because of the resistance of many of the people pushing for today's bill, we are seeing devastating consequences of efforts in this Congress for 2 or 3 years to stall our efforts. The law we passed last year has already had a significant impact on the market for illegal gambling services, prompting the major players in the industry, many of which are publicly traded companies in the United Kingdom, to cease their U.S. operations immediately. As reports in the Washington Post and others showed, they spent over $100 million resisting our effort to pass this bill. And yet, just as the new law is in the process of being implemented through regulations that the Treasury and the Federal Reserve are expected to issue shortly, a concerted effort is already underway to undo it. Chairman Frank has introduced legislation that would regulate rather than prevent gambling over the internet. I don't question his motive, but the bill would establish the presumption in favor of legalized online casino and sports betting, something that the NBA, the Major League Baseball, the National Football League, the NCAA worked for years to stop.